with working with people that are like yourself that have this born gift and that have maybe come under attack, or
yes, yeah, a lot of psychics come to me. A lot of mediums come to me. Channelers, they'll come to me. Some are irked at what I have to say because I tend to correct some of the information they have. I try to update their information base. To where they are. Most of the time, they're grateful for the information that I'm able to give them, and I'm only was able to give it to them because of all the experiences I've had.
Right.
Yeah.
So people like yourself, it would stand to reason, or it sounds like, are more would be more targeted individuals, I guess, by these.
Oh yes, They want to. I've been abducted. I don't know how many times to where they've tried to dampen my psychic abilities, taken genetic material. They're also noticing these aliens and also human groups that work with them are noticing that they're measuring a change that's happening in humans. That the frequency, this new energy, is actually drifting people's genetics out of a range that these aliens can use. The frequency is changing the fabric of our DNA from a carbon base to a crystalline base, and it's incompatible with these archontic.
Oh, so it's like they're getting left behind almost.
They are getting left behind, and they're basically being absorbed by Source, is what's happening. They came from a timeline that wasn't supposed to exist beyond a certain point, but their will and their drive to survive pushed them across multiple universes, and that's who we call the Orion Greys, or the Dark Anunnaki. And they weren't supposed to exist. See, Source marked them for extinction in that universe because the universe they came from was dark and twisted and wrong, pretty much. And so Source went, okay, we've already experienced this. People's souls have already gone down the tubes in this universe. That's an expression that doesn't need to exist anymore. And these beings said, like, says you, we're going to defy you. They came into this universe, started harvesting energies from people. Basically, that's where the vampire myths come from. So
wow. And so, but they're still doomed for the most part. But what about the ones, or somehow that they've been able to hybridize or somehow jump onto our bandwagon somehow? Is that?
Oh, they transferred their souls to human forms too, and those eventually the new energies will eventually balance those people out. Those Source has let a few of them in that were supposed to be here to begin with. But the grand bulk of these Dark Anunnaki are on their way out. If we cut their energy source off right now, if we all got into that peaceful, balanced state, enlightened, energetic state, they would die in like 2 seconds because they're taking all of their life force energy from everybody down here.
Yeah. Okay, so now some of these world leaders that we know are just horrific. I won't mention any names. Are they non-human, or are they humans that have been possessed by this archontic deal? Or what would happen to them if that happened? What you were just talking about.
Some of them are possessed by these beings. Now there might be a few stragglers if all the archontic forces suddenly died today. There might be a few stragglers that are still leeching within people that eventually you kick them out, they're going to burn up or turn to ashes and go away, like vampires in the sunlight. I feel a lot of this programming that they've created would become undone, but it wouldn't be overnight because some of this was grounded into our own psyches and into our own energy. So the programming issues would last for a little bit until they found a way to completely deprogram, like some of these cabal people and some of these servants to these dark entities. And if the dark entities are gone, they would think, oh, our masters aren't here anymore. We can now completely take over.
Yeah.
And that's how they would react. So we would still have them to contend with.
Right. Now, have some of them been cloned? Is there anything with this cloning, or is that real, or?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I've actually found out if somebody is cloned, one of the symptoms is extreme fatigue, not only from the energy draining, but I call it the twin syndrome. And they depicted this accurately in the movie Blade Runner 2049, where Ryan Gosling's character would have the memories and the symptoms and everything of the person he was cloned from as being a replicant. But he was cloned from a woman. Then he was a male clone in that. But this actually takes place where the cabal and also the Nazis that are out in our system. We have a whole contingent of German Martian Nazis, Ceres, and lunar Nazis that are out in the system. They take clones and use them as workers. And if a clone out in the system is worked pretty much almost to death, you're going to feel the fatigue on this end because of the quantum entanglement between the two, because your genetics are duplicated and used. There's a quantum thread that exists between the two.
So they're working you to death, even though you're over here. There's a part of you that's being worked to death over there.
Yes, and it's either that or you have a soul shard that has been placed over here that you have to reclaim the energy from. And once you do that, that clone either will die or they'll become their own separate entity at that point.
So this all ties into the secret space program?
Yes, most definitely. They also use cloning in body transfers quite a bit. I experienced this myself in some of the memories that I've had come back to me, where for certain missions they would have me jump into other body forms, male or female. And like if there was the memory I had, one of the first memories I had coming back is where they cloned this blonde female body, and they had me soul jump to that to be able to infiltrate a sexual circle ring that was going on to try to collapse it. This was a benevolent military unit that was doing this portion. There are benevolent ones and there's malevolent ones that have their own agenda in place.
In the secret space program?
Yes, there are positive ones that are trying to curb these other morons that are doing things out there. So it's not all evil. There are ones that are trying to keep the balance.
So are you still to this day being used, or one of your altars? Now that's what I don't understand. Sometimes some people's altars are being used in these. Is that true in their secret space programs?
Oh, the alternate, yeah. What happens is this has to do with quantum physics, where say you go through a 20 and back. And it could be parallel to the life you're living here right now. And as yourself experiences something there, it trickles from a quantum thread to you. You get pinged with these awful memories, but you could be experiencing as you experienced it there.
Okay,
so you have an alternate there, yeah.
So is your altar that's out there slaving away in space, is it physical or is it like astral, or what is that?
Physical. There are a couple ways they can do this. Tony Rodriguez described this pretty damn well, too. We interviewed him, where they stuck something in your eye, transferred the consciousness to another clone that looked just like you, that was you, but had some of the memories altered where you didn't remember the life before. That is a very common method that they use. And then they can also take your genetic code and create a ton of clones out there in the asteroid belt for mining minerals or something like that. There's another place on Mars where they do cloning, where they use this like bathtub type of deal that looks like it's full of amniotic fluid, and they can have a clone generated in this like bathtub type of scenario. They use that for de-aging as well. But they create clones that way. But the quantum threads that are created from these clones, this is how stupid these Nazi people are. They don't understand the spiritual aspect of this, to where people can sense these quantum threads and feel them. Even if they don't know what it is, they can feel it. And they can feel the fatigue from it. And the day that they know where that's coming from, that they're cognizant of that, everybody's going to see all of this going on in the system, very much how I felt and see all this. But the cloning is one of the methods. The other method for de-aging is, during the 20 and back, is they do the bathtub routine where they soak you in this fluid 3 or 4 times to de-age you back to the age you were when they took you, or they tap into the musculature and the nerve system and they start to regress the genes that way. There's a couple methods they've used. And I've seen the technology that does this. It could have such positive applications here. Medical applications. They could regenerate limbs with it. They could do so much help to they're
so greedy with it. They just keep it for their own devices.
Yeah, or in their own programs. Now the good people want to introduce this technology. They so badly want to do it. But there's this yield that's going on out there between both the dark and light sides, to where the good guys have to dance on the razor's edge around this rule book that has been created, that some galactics actually enforce too in their own cultures. We call it the yield, where I found out there's a military industrial complex faction, even as we speak, getting into corporations that exist out there to try to collapse them, like becoming the CEOs of certain things and collapsing certain companies so they can bring free energy out and these medical technologies out without companies competing over it in the economy. They want it to be free for everyone as one planet. And so they, I don't always agree with the methodology they're doing either, because they could just, thrust it onto the world, and these corporations wouldn't be able to do crap about it. But that's their methodology that they're trying to do. They want to get into these corporations and then collapse them, from what I understand it.
Yeah, well, one question I have that I it kind of goes along with what we were talking about earlier with maybe this demonic possession, but also it might have to do with cloning. The truth is, I don't know what it has to do with, but this is something you don't hear about that often. But somebody who's done this research, and it's like almost all of these world leaders and a lot of different celebrities, at one point they've had a black eye.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, somebody just socked them in the eye. It's the worst looking black eye I've ever seen. A lot of times there's like a bloody part on it.
Mm-hmm.
And they, for whatever reason, they do give them a photo shoot or a photo op or something. So at least at one time you see them with this black eye. I mean, these people are not boxers or anything like this, but it almost looks like something's been stuck in there. And do you know what that is?
Yeah, there are these celebrities that have been cloned too, and have reptilian consciousnesses downloaded into the bodies. Because see, when you remove a consciousness from a body here, it gets put in a quantum box, and another one can take its place that they have on standby to create agents around the globe that they can operate, completely open. They're essentially in human form. So yeah, there are these celebrities. There are quite a few that are not only reptilian hybrids, but they're actually clones of celebrities that may even be passed away now. They may be a copy of the person that was there. They may have put a reptilian hybrid version of that person in a key position, like in Hollywood, or somewhere in some key position in like a company or something like that. This is where you get those personality changes from with people. Joanna ran across somebody she used to work with. That one day she went to work and the guy was totally different. He was totally not the way he was before. And I had been warned before this guy left on a vacation that he was going to be cloned and that his original was going to be stuck somewhere and the new guy was going to be an implant. And she noticed, she could feel immediately that this guy was not the person that left before.
Wow. Well, yeah. Chris, if you will check out where our little chat thread there, and I just sent you a picture.
Okay, let me see here. Chat thread. Okay, let's see. Not getting anything yet. Let's see.
Oh, I just now sent it. I didn't. I thought I had sent it, but I hadn't sent it.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Okay, now please don't blurt out any names. I don't know if I'm going to put this picture out there or not, but there's right. You see the guy in the very front and at the bottom, who's actually, I think, holding the camera.
Yes.
Right behind him is a friend of mine that you've done some work with before.
Yes.
Right behind her is one of the world's biggest celebrities.
Yes.
You know who that is, or can you tell?
Yes, I know who that is. Yes.
Okay. Is there some people have looked at this picture and think that they're even, if you can tell at the very back somebody's holding up their hand, it actually almost looks like a foot. But some people, there was the idea that there was actually some reptilian shapeshifting going on in this picture.
I can feel it. Normally, even before I see anything, my chest space starts to feel like it's caving in. And, like I feel like this dense energy in my chest, like my heart space is telling me, warning, there's something wrong here. And and I can feel it's definitely coming from the center of the photo, from the person in the center of the photo, the celebrity.
Is that person a regular human being, or these? In other words, this is not your average ordinary party, is it?
No. I feel something. My intuition's telling me something that's very wrong here.
Is it a ritual?
Yeah, let's see here. Even Isaac is right here next to me. I have Isaac and his skull edifice sitting next to me, and he's saying this celebrity in the center of the photo is indeed which one is it, a clone or a reptilian hybrid or an inborn? Which of the three? Little from column A, a little from column B, a little from column C. But you're basically telling me that he is this particular person is not the original that was people have seen. Correct.
Oh, how sad. So is the original person dead?
I'm being told yes. Isaac is usually pretty truthful with me.
Yeah.
So
when they replace somebody with the clone, they just kill that person?
Sometimes they need the person alive, the original alive, to be able to keep the quantum thread alive for a particular clone. Now, that's not in all cases. I came to find out. Let me get off of this picture real quick so I can look you in the face again. There we go. I came to find out in some cases they do kill off the original, but in about half of the cases, I believe, they had to keep the original alive so they could keep getting fresh material to keep the different clones alive and keep getting certain memory patterns and brain patterns, and they had to keep that person alive, or the clone themselves would die because there was a quantum link.
Is there some secret city where they send these replaced celebrities to, or what? Are they just in a jail cell, or what?
I've actually remote viewed several celebrities that supposedly died. Like one died from from what people thought was like a drone attack on the person's car. I looked into that one. That one is one of those cases where the person is not dead. I can tell you right now, the person is not dead.
Wow. I'm not going to mention their name, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
I looked into it. There was a friend of ours that had me look into it, and I just kept hearing telepathically, like, help me, over and over again. I kept hearing, somebody pounding on walls. I kept hearing the vibration of metal and stuff like that. And I bilocated to where this string was leading me, and I could see this person in a cell pounding on a metal like Faraday cage type of rim.
Oh, how sad. This person's in a cage?
In a cage, and there's a lot of these celebrities. There's a few politicians that are in there too. Now, I'm not going to mention names either, but there's a few politicians that are in there.
So they're not at some luxury resort just kicking back. They're
in hell, basically, is what it is. Yeah. So yeah.
Wow, that is so sad, because the person that you're talking about, I don't know how accurate this is, but apparently I didn't know about this until this event that you're talking about. But apparently they had been were kind of a do-gooder. And we're doing all these charity events anonymously. Maybe that's what even got them targeted, was going around.
Yeah, I feel it was because they were defying the cabal's clock, basically, how certain they're trying to spin their own story when they're trying to throw in disclosure. This is why you see, this is why certain directors and certain producers don't get to let certain information out before a certain time of year, or a certain time, after a certain amount of time has passed. This person more than likely defied that, and this is what happened. I've known some directors that have tried that to where they defied basically the death clock timing. Let's just put it that way. They are basically taken out of business. Their company goes kaput. Their life just basically goes to hell. Now, this doesn't always happen. The new energies don't always allow this, but there have been some that it has happened to.
So would it be fair to assumption that most of the people in this picture here are somehow being controlled by some group of people, or maybe even the very person in the center of the picture? They're all being used somehow, I would imagine.
Yes, I feel that is true. There is, I get this negative wave, this underbelly that is taking place there. So a regular person that wasn't intuitive would look at this picture and go, "Oh, how awesome!" But a sensitive person, like a psychically sensitive person like myself, feels the energy that was captured in the photo that people have no knowledge about whatsoever. That you can lock a portion of time and energy into a picture. This is why native tribes would always think people's souls were being taken by cameras, because there is like a time lock that is there of what was there. You could literally step into the moment and see what was actually going on into the scenario. I can actually step through this picture and look around in the room to see what was actually going on and the telepathic signals of the people. There's something negative there. something very, very dark there.
Yeah, and one, I mean, I guess a good thing, but the person who's right in front of that person, the person that she's done some ayahuasca, a couple of ayahuasca rituals in the last 6 months to overcome some demons or some problems that she was having with some type of dependency issues, and she was able to overcome that. But I still think that she's got a long road ahead of her. I don't know if they're ever going to let her go.
That's also up to the person. I just keep saying, when I see this symbol in my head, the loop-de-loop, like on a computer, like when you see Skype loading or something, you see this loop-de-loop. When I see that in my head, that's a to be determined, meaning that's up to the person.
So she could still get loose of all this.
Yes, very much. Yeah, and Isaac here, he's actually saying yes. Yeah, this is him right here.
Yes.
But he, they're actually, the guides are saying yes, it is a possibility, but they're showing me to be determined, which means it's based on the free will of the person.
Yeah, and without revealing anything, by the strangest, I'm not going to call it coincidence, because we know it's not coincidences, and I am on good terms with this person. I'm going to see them later today. Mm-hmm. But they're in the deal that I'm being challenged with, which is a very big challenge and everything, which I'm really making some leeway on, and it's starting to look good for me. But it came about where something really bad was done to this person, whereas they're going to take some action on that, and that's going to make somebody else who did something to me look bad. In other words, my fate is almost in her hands on this. It's just not, in a way it is, in a way it's not. But or let me just tell you, she could, and she's doing something to help herself, which she was already said she was going to do anyway. It can make all my problems go away.
Also, I wouldn't completely trust that. Don't link your energy to that, saying that your fate's in someone else's hands. That you're always a sovereign being. You're
right.
always
yeah. No, exactly. That's why I'm doing all the work and everything to beat this myself.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely, I am.
Yeah, definitely. Always take control of it yourself. We were reminded of that with our trip to Washington. People that we were around that we completely implicitly trusted knifed us in the back. Normally, I'm not that. Normally I don't. Normally I can sense deception, but when if it comes from somebody you completely trust, then it hurts more. And that's what we ran into. It was a stark reminder of we have to build this ourselves. We have to do things ourselves and completely come into that power ourselves. And it was another stark reminder of that completely.
Yeah, well, that's kind of interesting. I kind of can, in a lot of ways, can see to the heart of almost any matter, unless it has to do with me personally.
Yes, yeah. Just like they always say, doctors are the worst patients, because I always have to have somebody else read me, because I try to look down on my own core. I can get rid of my own attachments and all this other garbage, but I don't see everything about me, because
there's some type of there's something universal thing to that.
Yeah, where they want people working together on things. It's like looking at Joanna, since I'm so close to her. I don't see everything that's wrong there unless it's severe. Unless it's something that's glaring me in the face, sort of thing. Then I can remove it. But then I always ask my mother to look at me or look at her. Or we have a friend in London that helps us out periodically. I help them out, and they help me in return. Looking at things that may be wrong that I don't see.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I think we really got a lot covered in this meeting. I feel real good about it. And one thing that thing I want to take home, or have the audience take home and everything, is that I'm starting to see this Tartarian thing is absolutely real, and you have absolutely been talking about it the whole time.
The whole time, yeah, and I came to realize that yesterday. Also, I got a channeling about this last night, after I watched that video I told you about. I'll actually read this on here, see if I can read my own writing, because it's all scribbles when
right.
Yeah, it's when I'm doing a channeling, it's all like chicken scratches.
Oh, like automatic writing.
Yeah, that's how I talk to the guides, and I have a new guide that has shown up. His name is Magnus, and I came to find out he said he was a Garthan at first, but then he revealed himself as part of the Tartarian Empire. That he was around at the time everything was collapsing, and he went underground. So that's how he told me, and he's more than likely around. I don't always see him. He tends to stay out of my visual wavelength. I don't always see him, but he says, "Hello, Chris. Magnus here. You and I have a history barely told to history. Current history, that is. Do you know what he goes, do you know why you are drawn to the Tartarian Empire? I said, yes, it is because I too was part of that worldwide empire. He says, correct, but do you know why your energy rose so high in the sky that the sky could only touch? And what he meant was, when I started tapping into this, my vibration went so high I nearly passed out. And meaning I was touching into my own soul history. And I felt really emotional when I was looking into this stuff, and I didn't know why I felt such sadness about it. And then he kept telling me, telepathically, he kept telling me, because you have a history there that you don't want your own history and the history of the world to be forgotten or erased. You were sad about it being erased, is what he was trying to say, that all the time alterations couldn't erase something that was supposed to stand the test of time. That's why it was coming back out again. That's what he was trying to tell me. He said, I am Tartesian, or not Tartesian, but he pronounced it Tartesian, but he said he was Tartarian himself, and that he was wanting, along with his grouping, to bring back the history, along with Source Energy and a bunch of other ETs out there, want the true history to show itself, and that's what he meant by that.
Wow, that's cool. That's a touching little deal there, with that revelation. One thing that I told you earlier, I was going to tell you two things about the Force people, and I forgot to tell you the other one. And this is kind of on a sad note, but you know that I had been doing the investigations at Harryman Road. And everything like this, and you told me that there was a migration point and everything. Well, where I had left the gifts or whatever, and then I went back and I wasn't able to find that place. Well, I'd recently gone back there a couple times, and actually I lost a drone in Brushy Creek.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Oh man, I just felt I was like, like that.
Yeah, there went about $5,000 right there. Yeah,
about 500, but still, it felt like about $5,000. But anyway, I'm sad to report that around the area where I was looking for, the gifts that I left and everything, that area no longer exists.
Oh, they tore it up.
It's been bulldozed. I mean, you talk about a mud flood. That was another coincidence. It's like walking through the mud. Their habitat there has just been removed. With
that's Cabal doing that. That's definitely Cabal doing that, because they don't want anybody interacting with the forest people. They hunt the forest people and they hunt the Lyran people as well. I've run into this where they'll try to destroy their habitats, like what the U.S. government did to the Native Americans when they killed off all the buffalo and forced them onto the reservations. It's the same thing they're trying to do with some of the forest people clans. They're trying to destroy the habitat so they have nowhere to go.
Yeah, well, I hope that me going over there and doing investigations didn't have anything to do with that. But
no, no, I don't believe so. Even though targeted people tend to draw unwanted attention to the forest people, they told us this. They usually they usually won't completely interact with anybody that's targeted. Now, does it happen to them where we unwantedly bring that attention to them? It can, and they always tell me, don't feel bad about that. But they also say nothing personal, but they can't always interact with targeted individuals.
Right. And, I can't hold myself responsible. After all, this is in the middle of an urban area of 2 million people, so it really, it almost is almost the opposite. They were being targeted for eradication. That's what drew my attention to it, or something,
Yeah, exactly. Since you hold some of their codes and you hold some of that emotion towards them, and you've more than likely been an expression as one of them, you felt like a brother to them. They're more likely safe. They just move to a different area.
Sure, yeah, right. That's their number one job, is evade and escape or whatever. Staying out of our notice. But there's a festival that they have every year right there in Round Rock. I didn't know this, but it's a huge festival. It's very popular. Everyone knows about it, and it's called the Hairy Man Festival. And they have a contest where these biker guys, or like hairy-chested guys, or that you win a prize for the hairiest guy. I mean, I haven't been to this festival yet, but it just blows me away to think that they have this festival called the Hairy Man Festival, and the whole idea of the forest people is completely lost. They don't. The organizers of this festival don't even know that it has something to do with. I mean, can you believe that? I mean,
I can believe that's happening, because that's basically a distraction to get people to not communicate with the forest people. They're trying to make it a joke out of it, or try to make out, basically think of it as like, oh, this is a joke. It doesn't actually exist, but make fun of it, bash it, all that other stuff, disrespect it. This is why they're trying to distract the people away from communicating with the forest people. Because if we reforge an alliance with them, a strong one, these people don't have a chance in hell.
Yeah. And you're right. And so, I'm working on my book right now, The Wild Man of Texas, a concise history of Bigfoot and wild man sightings in Texas over the last 250 years. It's got a pretty long title. But I do find it interesting that one thing I found out, that in geography and everything that's old, and the pioneers and everything, any geographical anything that has the word devil on it, Devil's Creek, Devil's Canyon, Devil's Mountain, Devil's Bluff, Devil anything, that is always, without any exception, a reference to the forest people.
Yes, or satyr or anything like that. Now, there are also goat beings as well, hairy goat beings.
It could be a reference to them, too.
Yeah, and they're trying to get people to consider these beings evil. Now, there are mischievous ones and dark ones amongst them. Yes, there are, just like with us. It's no different, but you can't not judge a whole race on just a few bad.
But, of course, anything that's named devil this, devil that name is over 150, 200 years old. They don't, in the modern day, we don't name stuff devil this or devil that. It was always people in covered wagons, that just misunderstood what they were seeing.
Yeah, exactly. Even the Viking leader, Leif Erikson, when he came over here with his father, Eric the Red, over to North America, they even described the forest people as black-eyed demons that live, forest demons. Because their eye pupils are dark. So they were describing these hairy demons that lived in the forest. That's how Leif Erikson and Eric the Red wrote it in their journals, in the sagas. So that's how they described it. And I was thinking, that just added fuel to the fire. And
it's just more of a bad publicity campaign.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I interact with the forest people on a regular basis. They have been nothing but loving and kind to me. And I always tell people that there have been some agitated ones, like adolescent ones that are agitated. Like we have teenagers. They'll steal stuff and do stuff and be irritable. But their elders usually chastise them for it. But on the way back, when we were leaving from Washington, one of the greatest things about the forest people that we did ever came to us when we were leaving Washington. We were in the car on the highway, and I was just looking out through the trees, and I could feel myself almost becoming like one of them. That usually tells me that they're trying to communicate. Like I could feel myself being physically larger or bigger, and that's a major connection, telepathic connection. And they communicated with me the most loving feelings. They communicate with Joanna too, the most loving feelings. That we will continue to communicate with you. You are our brothers and sisters. You are our friends. Because we treated their domain with nothing but respect while we were in Washington, and they repaid that in kind.
Well, it's fascinating because like Kiwani Lapsaratus, as much interaction as he's had, I mean, just thousands and thousands of times, but he's only maybe seen them with his eyes, like maybe only 2 or 3 times. And now, have you ever seen them with your eyes, or I know you've seen them out of the corner of your eyes, or you've seen the gifts that they leave you and stuff like that?
Oh yeah. I saw Fuma fully with my eyes. There's actually 2 occurrences where I've seen it with my eyes. Once was here in Arizona up on Thumb Butte when the Sasquatch used to be up there. They don't, because the Cabal messed with that area up there too, very much like your Hairy Man Road. The same identical thing happened up there. I saw Fuma with my eyes. He was about maybe a half a block away from me, sitting in a tree waving at me. Big black Sasquatch with the bigger, the thicker neck, was up in a tree waving at me. And the second time was in Washington. I didn't tell anybody this one. I happened to look out of the passenger room. We were in a Jeep, and just out in the middle of nowhere, up in the hills. up on a dirt road. I just happened to turn my head. I had the compulsion to turn my head and look. I saw a physical Sasquatch that was visible for a second, and then he faded through a tree. He passed through a tree and was gone. Now, Joanna has seen one, too, when we were in Japan. We encountered a Sasquatch clan there, yeah. And,
wow.
Yeah, and when we were on our way to Fukushima, we were driving through this forest area up in the hills to go around to Fukushima Prefecture. And all of a sudden, she just jerks up and looks up in the hills. She goes, "There is a damn Sasquatch out here," that was looking at me. And I telepathically linked to them. They were skeptical of my intentions. They were more afraid of me because I had certain abilities. And I had to tell them that I wasn't like a dark sorcerer or a magician or something like that. I said, "We're here to bless the land. You can scan what's in the back of our vehicle." We had a bunch of Shungite with us. I said, "Here, you can telepathically look. What do you think of this?" Well, there was a young Japanese boy that was with us in this van. And he just yells out, he starts yelling something out in Japanese. And I asked our friend Annie, I said, "What's he saying?" And he says he's seeing a large monkey. And because he couldn't speak English, but he was yelling out large monkey," over and over again. And so he definitely saw the Sasquatches that were up in the hills. There were several, but Joanna only saw one of them. That was up there, but that was another occurrence that I didn't get to see it because I was in the middle of the back seat of the van. She was up against the window. I couldn't. I tried to arc my head up and look out to see if I could see it, but she was the one that spotted that one that time.
Did they reveal themselves to her, or was it just kind of accidental, or what was that? No,
they were intentionally wanting to communicate, but they were still, the ones over there in Japan were a little more skittish than the ones here. They kept saying that they kept telling me there were dark sorcerers and magicians that were using magic against them there.
Why? What would a dark sorcerer want with a Bigfoot?
These were actually ancient dark sorcerers that were from the feudal times in Japan.
They're not in a physical body like you and me.
Oh, they are. They're still alive. Even Seimei, their protector of Japan, he is still alive in a physical body. He telepathically communicated with me there. He's there basically. They're one of their protectors of Japan from back in the times of ancient Kyoto, and he's still around in a physical body. He was actually an ET in that form, and he's still around. These dark sorcerers that opposed him are also still around. In Japan.
Is this guy that you just mentioned, is he in a human body?
Yeah, he is of the Tumban race I told you about, the Proto-Japanese ETs. He's one of them that came here and attempted to keep everything in Japan protected and immune to Archontic influences. But some of his own people, later on in history, also during the Japanese Civil War, which was about 100 and some odd years ago, there were also dark sorcerers that took the sides of different families over a period of time, and also around the time of the Japanese Civil War. So these humans are literally still alive.
So does he just live like in a hut out in the forest all alone or something? Or
I don't know. He wouldn't tell me where he was located, but he did say he was still flesh and blood. Right. Humanesque, yeah.
So maybe when he goes home, maybe his house where he lays down his head might be kind of interdimensional, but I don't know.
I feel that he does hide in a different frequency because he felt really close to me when I did a channeling with him. He felt very close to me, and these dark sorcerers, this Sasquatch clan that was there, that's why they were scared of me, because they were scanning some of my own SSP history. See, they didn't know what they were looking at because a lot of that stuff wasn't like that over there. They didn't know what they were looking at, so I had to assure them that I was speaking from my own heart space. I said, "I respect your people. I'm not going to disrespect your territory." But these dark magicians had bound their light bodies, what's known as the light body, and
they bound the light body of what? Of the Sasquatch?
Of the person. You can do that to a fellow human, and you can do that to a Sasquatch because they're like us. And I saw their wrists bound, but it was their light body. What I mean by light body is the version of myself that I project out there when I go to bilocate to places. And their light body had been bound. And
is that so they can steal energy from it, or what?
Oh yeah. When you have a bound being, you can almost make them do anything you want them to do. This is what happened to the jinn back in ancient times with King Solomon, where he forced them to build the temple, Solomon's temple, That's what happened with them. They were bound. But if you remain bound too long, you become you cease to be independent. You cease to be a race anymore, and that's what happened to the jinn. But so I don't trust any jinn I run across because they're always a messenger for somebody else. And these dark magicians had those at their disposal. Well, what I did was when I see somebody that's bound like this, when I see the wrists bound or the feet bound, I always declare. Since it was words that actually bound them to certain energies, I just declare them unbound, and it's mirrored across their own whole clan and throughout like the multiverse and omniverse. I always declare that when I see that, and I ground it. When I do that, I use that mirror technique on them. They all became unbound, and then they began to trust me when they saw that I set them free from the bounding on the etheric level. I know this sounds strange, but it's on an etheric level. It's not on a physical level. Like if somebody is bound, you don't see them walking around like this. It's their spirit body.
Yeah,
that
it's
is
their
actually
subtle bodies.
Yeah. And it was I hated to see that whole clan of them like that. And when I helped them out, they were happy to communicate after that with me.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, man, I think we had a really good session.
Yeah. So do I. Yeah, this was. I always have fun having these shows with you. They always turn out great.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean we're gonna have 2 or 3 parts to this episode, and I'll have them out real quick.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm revamping the website, the Liftings website. I'm going to make tabs for the different or link buttons for the different things I've been doing, and I can create I can create a link to your YouTube.
Oh, that would be great. Or maybe my website, either youdonttknow.io or basistexas.com or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'll be sure and leave a description and a link to the lifting on this video.
Okay, that'd be great. Yeah, since I'm revamping the site, I figured I can just create buttons on the site for the different people I've worked with. And I'm on a show every Friday called the Galactic Interstellar Council on Revolution Radio.
You're on Revolution Radio now?
Yeah, we have the lifting we do for our YouTube, but then I'm on a show called the Galactic Interstellar Council with a guy named Viking, a friend of ours. That's a friend from California that I was talking about before, and we work with him quite closely on stuff like that. And I get on the Galactic Interstellar Council on there every Friday. It was 2 Eastern. They said I get on there.
Okay, so people just get on the internet, and then they go to revolutionradio.com at that time, and that's how they watch it?
It's actually on freedomslips.com, I believe it, and then they can look at the schedule, and they'll see Interstellar Council pop up on the schedule. And I'm on there every single Friday.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we'll be sure to let the listeners know about that. That way, and now, dude, is that one of those shows where people can call in?
They used to have it that way, but it became distracting after a while. So no, they don't call into our show. We introduce these different concepts that seem foreign to people. We want to ground that information into the earthly Akejik. So we declare that at the beginning of each show that it's grounded into the.
Okay. Now, if they can watch it live by doing that, but what if they miss it? Do they save any of them on archive or?
They have an archive on there you have to pay for, but eventually I'm going to put them all on our YouTube channel as well. So any of the things that I'm on, I usually either link to the YouTube or I have it on the YouTube. So
this is an audio program, right?
This is an audio one. You'll see on YouTube if people look up my name, Christopher S. Jacobs. They'll see ones that say Galactic Interstellar Council, or it says Down the Rabbit Hole featuring the Galactic Interstellar Council. Those are those shows. And then we have our episodes of the lifting on there, too.
Yeah, I'll start giving that a listen.
Yeah.
Hey,
all right.
Thanks for talking to me, Chris, and let's do this again soon.
Yeah, I would like that. Oh, I wanted to show you. We have my family got a new puppy. I wanted to show you this little dog that they got. Yeah. Is Sammy here?
They're gone.
Oh, crap. Never mind. They must have taken Sammy with them. Okay. We had a little puppy. My family bought a little puppy. He's only about this big. Named Sammy. He's part Schnauzer, part Wire Terrier. And it looks like they took him with, so never mind.
We'll check him out next time.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Thanks, Chris.
It was good talking to you.
Later.
Later.